They require extensive maintenance, and as noted earlier, routine upgrades the F-16S sent to Ukraine are far from new. Most spent decades in service with their original air forces before transfer, yet they underwent multiple upgrades prior to delivery, the most critical being covert enhancements to their electronic warfare suites. It is not public which exact F-16 variants Denmark and Norway provided. The Dutch aircraft were reportedly F-16AM or BM models, and the Belgian jets F-16AMs still all are believed to have gone through the Block 20 mid-life update MLU, bringing them roughly to the modern M65 standard. That upgrade added precision-guided ground attack weapons and improved cockpit systems, radar, and software. The Dutch fighters also carried reconnaissance pods such as Mars and Rexelite, and navigation targeting pods like Lantern, along with advanced targeting pods such as Litening AT and Sniper. Those pods significantly boost operational flexibility, capability, and situational awareness. The F-16S were also fitted with ANO 69A radar warning receivers to better detect and evade incoming threats. Crucially, their software was optimized to address evolving Russian threats in the spectrum. According to the elite U.S. Air Force unit that handled the upgrades, the 68th Electronic Warfare Squadron EWS, the 68th EWS traces its lineage to the 68th Station Complement Squadron, constituted in 1943, later redesignated as the 68th Test Support Squadron in 1993, and given its current name in 1999. Today the squadron is part of the Air Force's 350th Spectrum Warfare Wing at Eglin, AFB, Florida, and serves as the sole provider of missionized software for U.S. combat air forces and for U.S. foreign military sales of offensive EW combat assets. It offers 24/7 contingency reprogramming of EW systems, and in its words, is an Air Force center of electronic warfare excellence focused on increasing U.S. and partner lethality and survivability by developing, testing, and delivering full-spectrum electromagnetic warfare support. The squadron is organized into 3 flights: SWA, SWB, and SWC. SWA and SWC house engineering and equipment specialists who provide mission data reprogramming for F-15, F-16, and E-3 aircraft for 28 partner nations. SWB contains operational and staff support personnel responsible for testing, IT software development, management, budget analysis, security, and facility management. One of the unit's tasks is to take collected threat data and convert it into software that helps pilots defeat those threats, whether that means displaying an accurate radar profile of a Russian Su-35 on an F-16 cockpit screen, or developing algorithms that tell a defensive dispenser when to release flares or chaff based on a missile's speed and flight characteristics. The squadron has historically supported more than 70 systems across 40 countries. According to its chief engineer, the upgrades for the Ukrainian F-16S were a special, unusually demanding case because the EW system on board was an unfamiliar EW system not used by the U.S. military that forced the squadron to rapidly learn and reprogram an unfamiliar architecture under an extremely tight deadline. The 68th EWS embraced the challenge with its engineers, saying they felt a responsibility to succeed. Most reprogramming centers would have said no way when approaching this challenge. It is uncharted policy. We looked at each other and said, if not us, then who are the best people to do this? They assembled a dedicated team of seasoned experts and bright young engineers, began with data provided by Denmark and Norway, and adapted their processes to understand the EW system's inner workings. Team members then deployed to a partner nation lab abroad to collaboratively develop and test the system. The 68th EWS director noted, this is not our standard operating procedure. The fact that the team was able to figure out the system in 2 weeks, go in country with a partner to develop a best-ever mission data file, is unheard of, and is thanks to the talent here in the squadron and the wing. Within the ultra-tight 2-week window, the 68th EWS managed to test and validate the unique elements required by the Ukrainians, and even improve reprogramming processes for all parties. Ukraine has since been opened as an official foreign military sales FMS case for the 68th EWS, allowing the unit to provide ongoing reprogramming based on Ukrainian feedback. Another departure from routine practice. Traditionally, FMS feedback comes from training environments, but Ukraine will supply combat-tested data to enhance capabilities. That feedback loop could be vital not only to keep Ukraine's F-16S at peak performance, but also to update F-16 fleets across NATO and allied nations. As the 68th EWS director put it, when you're talking about a near-peer conflict, you need all of your coalition partners to operate from the same playbook so you can achieve spectrum dominance. One F-16 with a reprogrammed pod won't achieve air dominance alone, but it may buy you a pocket of air superiority long enough to achieve a strategically important objective. Exactly which EW upgrades the 68th EWS installed remains largely classified from limited imagery. The Danish F-16S available when the squadron worked on them were fitted with pylons from Danish defense firm Terma. Those pylons can carry electronic jammers and dispensers for decoy flares and chaff, and are integrated with the jet's internal self-protection suite. Terma is also likely linked to The unfamiliar EW system, whose software the 68th upgraded the ALQ-213V Electronic Warfare Management Unit EWMU. The EWMU hardware is a combined controller and cockpit control unit from Termos proven product line, which the company says is in service on more than 2,500 aircraft across at least 25 platform types in 15 countries. The unit's small form factor, configurable interfaces, and robust computing make it straightforward to integrate additional sensors and effectors alongside core aircraft functions, hence its adoption on platforms ranging from the U.S. Navy's P-8A Poseidon to the Dutch NH-90 helicopter and Taiwan's fleet of F-16 versus Denmark installed ALQ-213V systems on its F-16S during upgrades in the 2000s, so it's highly probable this is the EWMU placed on the Danish jets gifted to Ukraine and subsequently reworked by the 68th EWS. The software, its source code and algorithms remains highly classified as expected, but its role is clear. EWMU software stores threat data such as enemy radar wavelengths, missile flight profiles, and radar signatures. In some cases, it contains data that enables an aircraft's defensive systems to alter or mask its location or radar return during flight, and F-16S sensors detect emitter frequencies. The software must classify and respond to those waveforms accurately using its built-in threat library air. Defense operators counter this by changing modes, hopping frequencies, or otherwise altering emissions, so EW systems must be routinely reprogrammed to keep pace with evolving signatures. New or modified drones, missiles, glide bombs, and other systems appear regularly over Ukraine, each with different signatures that must be added to the EWMU library. Fortunately for Ukraine, US EW threat libraries are among the most comprehensive in the world, a major advantage derived from extensive surveillance collection. It's almost certain the 68th EWS installed the most complete Russian threat signature database available, and given years of U.S. collection, that library may include electronic detail about Russian systems more exhaustive than Russia's own archives. Near constant NATO surveillance flights over the Black Sea and adjacent airspace since the invasion using RQ-4 Global Hawk and MQ-4C Triton drones plus manned platforms like the RC-135 Rivet Joint and P-8A Poseidon have generated the kind of EW data 68th EWS programmers need to write effective algorithms. The threat library uploaded to Ukrainian F-16S likely included Russian signatures collected during the first 30 months of the war, possibly down to precise frequencies and flight profiles for modern air-to-air missiles, air defense systems, and aircraft. It's even conceivable the upgrades enable Ukrainian F-16S to detect or better evade advanced Russian platforms like the Su-57 or S-400 systems. The battlefield, however, keeps evolving. New and modified Russian drones, missiles, and EW tactics will continue to appear and require fresh entries in the threat library. The Holy Grail is a system that records new signatures and updates all relevant libraries in real time. The US is working towards such a capability, but there's no evidence yet that it's operational or available. For now, the most plausible path to keep Ukraine's EWMUs current is manual on-the-ground updates by 68th EWS technicians that may be feasible from the two new truck-mounted complexes Ukraine introduced in 2025 to support US-made F-16S developed and provided by the Come Back Alive group with help from Ukraine's military and energy sector. These mobile complexes enable F-16 operations and repairs from diverse locations rather than fixed bases. One complex houses a command post and mission planning workstations plus rest space for personnel. The other provides a workshop for testing and preparing weapons and vehicles to load munitions onto aircraft. It's entirely plausible regular EWMU updates could be performed from these mobile sites. Ukraine keeps the locations of its F-16S and Mirage 2000's tightly guarded bases, likely hosting them have been repeatedly targeted by Russian strikes since the war began, especially after the F-16S arrived. Starokostiantinov Airfield, Ukraine's largest military base, has reportedly been struck at least 13 times by Kinzhal and other heavy missiles. To mitigate risk, Ukraine disperses F-16S in small groups and moves them between sites. Even with a fully updated threat library and EWMU, the jets aren't a war winning silver bullet. Ukraine lacks the numbers of fighters and trained pilots necessary to decisively challenge Russian air superiority. Building that capacity would take years. Still, the knowledge that Ukraine's F-16S can identify and counter most Russian threats complicates Russian mission planning and EW operations. Russian pilots and planners must now ask whether a given airspace could contain an upgraded Ukrainian F-16 and whether their radars or missiles will function as expected if an F-16S EWMU knows Russian radar frequencies. A pilot can time flares or present a deceptive flight profile to break a lock, making engagement riskier for the Russian side. These upgrades likely contributed to the low number of F-16 losses Ukraine has suffered despite reportedly using them daily. Through 2025, Ukraine has primarily deployed them in support of air defenses around major cities, rather than on the front lines, reducing direct exposure. Of the 4 F-16s reported lost to date, the incidents appear tied to friendly fire technical malfunctions or emergencies, rather than enemy missiles. Along with dispersal tactics, the upgraded threat library has probably played a role in preserving the fleet as more F-16s arrive and Ukrainian pilots grow more proficient with the jets. The capability of Ukraine's air arm will steadily improve. If you enjoyed the video, hit like and subscribe to the channel to stay current on military technology news and all things military. Thanks for watching.